Welcome to the Managing the Smart Mind podcast with your host, Coach Kramer. This is episode 52, using neuroplasticity to change your self-concept. Hello there, smart human. This week, I want to talk to you about something super fun, changing the idea of yourself. Which is to say your self-concept. Now, most of us throughout our lives have at different times attached different labels to ourselves. And when I say label, I don't mean diagnoses such as ADHD or autism, which I don't actually see as a label. I'm talking about labels like introverted, high achiever, undisciplined, reliable, trustworthy, lazy, etc., etc., right? You get the picture. Now, if the labels you identify with serve you, great. By all means, keep them. But if they don't, if they're very negative, they are going to limit you in what you can experience and achieve in the world. They can cause self-sabotage, avoidance, playing small. So if you have those kinds of labels, you definitely want to consider changing your self-concept. But what is your self-concept anyway? Well, let's answer that question for a change, not philosophically, but through a quick exercise. If it's safe for you to do so, I want you to pause the podcast and answer the following question. Don't overthink it, just blurt out whatever comes up. I'm a person who is... Okay, pause the podcast, answer the question. I'm a person who is, and write down anything that comes up. Did you do it? Then you have a nice first list of labels. And when I did this exercise just now, this is what came up immediately. I'm a person who's brilliant, disorganized, overly ambitious, loving, all over the place, clumsy, intense, shy, bad with money. These are some of the things I definitely believe to be true about me. It's not all, but that was all I had time for. And I have to say the brilliant and loving and even intense, I do not have a problem with. I fully embrace and appreciate that I am those things. But disorganized, overly ambitious, all over the place, clumsy, shy, bad with money, those I am not particularly attached to. And if I don't actively get to work to change these basic beliefs about myself, my brain will keep looking for evidence, both of my past and my present, that I am disorganized, shy, clumsy, bad with money. And if I keep that up long enough, it will become a self-fulfilling prophecy and a solidified story. More on those in episode 43. And the great news is that you can actually change this quite easily. Well, it does take a bit of work, but you won't need a neurosurgeon. You can simply change the way your brain thinks about you. That is so meta, right? But it's true. You can change the way your brain thinks about you, which is to say, the way it thinks about itself, in a way. Mind-blowing. Now, if you're familiar with mindset work, you probably already know how important it is to find your underlying beliefs about yourself and change them. And I explain how you do this at length in episode 42. So if you haven't checked that one out yet, I strongly advise you to give it a listen. However, simply modifying your existing beliefs is only the first step of the process. Because even if I modify I'm shy into I can feel confident in the presence of other people, which I kind of believe, right? I can feel confident in the presence of other people or something similar. My brain is still wired to pull out the old files of my shyness showing up in social situations, right? It will immediately go to remember that time when you overshared, when you were super awkward, when you got caught in a corner with three people who just kept talking at you and you were too polite to leave, like all the things. So the missing piece here is to direct your brain to a new archive to pull information from, right? Relocate The brain is like, don't go to 1.6, go to file 2.7. And this is the archive with the evidence that you are totally okay being around other people in this case. So going back to my example, right now, my brain will definitely find evidence in the past of how I am very shy, which means I really have to retrain it to find evidence of how I am confident around other people instead. And to do this, I have to look at my past and my current experience with fresh eyes and find all the situations in which I was confident around other people, which my brain is currently hiding from me because it's working on the assumption that I'm shy. For example, that dinner party at which I made everybody laugh. Yeah, true story. The network meeting where I had deep and meaningful conversations with a couple of wonderful people. The clubhouse rooms where I raised my hand and spoke up and was appreciated. The amazing chats I sometimes have with random strangers on the tram. My wonderful weekly lunch club meetings, right? That is where I want to direct my brain when I think about engaging with other people. So this is how you change your self-concept. First, find a label you no longer want to apply to yourself. Second, make a list that proves the opposite of what you currently believe and make it as long as possible. And it can be small things, right? You don't need to go from like, oh, I am undisciplined, I can't control myself, to I can do anything I want. Just find instances, for example, around food when you said no to a second serving, right? Find all those tiny things. They're actually the most powerful. And keep adding to the list, because once you redirect your brain from its confirmation bias, you will start finding new evidence that you previously were unable to see. And third, keep redirecting your brain towards that new list whenever it is triggered around this topic. Right? Okay, here's another example to make you really get this. Let's use a label that a lot of smart humans, including yours truly, and especially smart humans with ADHD, apply to themselves: being bad with money. Now, if I want to, I can find a lot of evidence that I am bad with money. Hello, impulse buying, credit card debt, uncancelled subscriptions, right? Late library books, all the things. But I can also find heaps of evidence that I am actually amazing with money. Hello, real estate investments, right? Coaching and training that had the most amazing ROI. Hello, savings account, all the things. So I want to create a list of all the ways in which I am amazing with money and keep that on my desk for at least a week so that I can keep adding to it. And this could also be about not buying something, right? Not in one instance, not doing any impulse buying. And then every time I'm triggered to think about my self-concept with regards to money, I kind of yank my brain back from its default, you suck. Taking 4 years to cancel your Adobe subscription, seriously? To yank my brain back from that thinking to my new list, my new archive, right? That proves that I can actually be amazing with money. This is not an instant transformation. You want to keep practicing this until you've rewritten the neural pathways, until you've modified your self-concept, or in other words, you've created a solidified story that serves you. In this case, that you are a pretty amazing human when it comes to money management. Now, this, my smart friends, is how you make neuroplasticity work for you. And if you do happen to have ADHD, you want to make sure you keep this exercise engaging and top of mind, because otherwise you won't keep up with it for long enough to see the results. So create visual reminders and design a fun reward system that reinforces your new self-concept. For example, how about dropping a coin in a jar every time you pull out your list and look at it, and a bonus coin for every thought you had, right? Lots of little nice dopamine hits there. And if all this seems fascinating to you, but you're not even sure what exactly you believe about yourself that you'd like to change, then I have some prompts for you to get you going. And I also recommend checking out episode 11, Clearing Out the Clutter in Your Brain. Okay, so if that is you, grab a pen and a piece of paper and finish these sentences with as many words that come up in your brain as you can find, right? Okay, here we go. I often apologize for being too ... I often apologize for being too ... Here's the second one. I regularly wish I were or weren't so ... So I regularly wish I weren't so, or I were so much more ... The third one. If only I were more ... If only I were more ... And the fourth one. I would be making so much more money, or have so much more fun, or so much more time, or so much more power if I were ... Use these prompts to unearth those parts of your self-concept that don't serve you and start changing them around. It's super fun. You get to decide how you want to be, play, and live on this amazing planet. Have a fabulous week. Bye-bye.